Oh, hi there, Billy Boy, Oprah, Mr. Kissinger. Hi, Piggos. How are you guys doing? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okadowski of wearechange.org, literally on a pig farm and what looks like a little bit of a wasteland, but this is actually the remnants of our 2020 Bash It, F It, post-election celebration fest, where of course people came here and had a little bit of rage therapy on some cars and some printers, which we still have left, as well as pumpkins, which they got to smash and cut, just like in that video game that everyone's addicted to, which obviously the lovely little porkers here. Hi, little porkers. Who's your little porker? You see? Oh yeah, you're a little fatty, aren't you? Yeah. I named them after some of our favorite globalists and politicians. But they're great pigs. They're not as bad as the people I named them after. But anyway, regardless of that, you might be asking yourself, what are you doing on a pig farm in New Hampshire, of all places? And actually, I wasn't supposed to be here long, specifically here in New Hampshire. I was supposed to leave here in June, and that's why in this video, I specifically want to focus throughout all the uncertainty happening in 2020, one of the best, most certain moves that I made in my life. And that's specifically coming up here to New Hampshire, which again, just happened by coincidence. I had a crazy year. Obviously, 2020 hit everyone very hard. I used to travel a lot and ended up stuck in the city that I was raised in, New York City, surrounded by older family members that are not in the best of health. Obviously, I took the situation quite seriously. But after just days and weeks and months of just utter hypocrisy and nonsense that we have been seeing by our politicians, obviously the situation was very serious, but it's also one that you kind of look at, and it's obviously disturbing the high levels of individuals that are just using this for political power. And obviously the people who are getting used the most are people in New York City that I have to tell you, their kind of existence, well, my existence when I was there earlier this year was just absolutely horrendous. It's absolutely horrible. There's literal government agents running around with binoculars, sneaking into people's windows of their homes, into their businesses, into their churches to make sure people aren't social distancing. I would say New York City is the top tier globalist city of them all, and being stuck there in 2020 with family members that aren't under the best of health, it kind of left me in a situation when I was like, I'm really in a bad place. I should get out of here. And earlier in the year, I moved out to a farm in Pennsylvania. And I learned that I'm a dirty city slicker that many times doesn't even know how to tie his shoelaces correctly, nor live on the farm. I went back to New York City for a little bit and then made my plans to leave. I left going to PorkFest, and I was supposed to get an RV. No, not this one, but I was supposed to get an RV and then go throughout the country looking for a place to settle down in. And synchronistically, I just ended up staying in New Hampshire with some really incredible individuals. Obviously, if you want an RV, there's some pretty affordable ones like the ones that you're seeing now. But if you want one that actually works and doesn't break down, they're quite a bit expensive. So I ended up renting an RV from a friend that was selling his in exchange for fixing it up. And my friend, who I started staying with, fixes cars and trucks and RVs. And then ever since then, I just started learning how to actually work on stuff, how to weld stuff, how to actually use tools and not be a flip-flop, dirty, yuppie hipster in the big city. And ever since then, I started learning a whole bunch of other stuff, as you could see in front of me. Not just, of course, how to weld, but also how to properly defend myself as a human being, which has been an incredible skill that I've been absolutely loving. I've always been researching and studying survivalism and self-defense, but really when I was thrown into the wilds of the New Hampshire woods with some amazing professional training, I was able to befriend a Special Forces Green Beret who has been also training me on how to be the best to my abilities, a person who actually knows what they're doing. And we, after conducting a large number of training sessions, have started training other people, and we have started doing our own survival courses here in the very woods that we are in right now. I'm going to take you up the hill and show you some of the shelters that we built over a month ago, since of course after being a new student I had a lot of fresh memories. I had the education which was fresh in my mind, so I started to work with professionals, trying to of course teach people how to be a survivalist themselves. Now we're calling this the Ish Hit the Fan Suite 2000 Deluxe, and it's been really amazing being able to build something like this with random people who came here wanting to learn to do it only within a few hours. Now of course I'm not a professional prepper or survivalist, but working with a lot of other professionals and experts, I've been able to learn a lot and completely changed my skill set than what it was when I was living in New York City. And we have to face the reality that people living in New York City are absolutely unprepared. And when you have a large number of unprepared people living on top of each other, that's a recipe for disaster, to say the least. And once you're able to actually be in the wild, one of the things we did during our survival courses is we had to catch an actual live chicken with your bare hands and then process it and cook it and eat it for sustenance during our overnight survival training. And there, a lot of students learned just how absolutely difficult it is not only to catch a chicken, that's an obvious one, but to process, to butcher, and to just go through the preparing of food, which really boggles your mind when you're in a supermarket and you're seeing, you know, these huge GMO factory farmed chickens, which of course we don't have here, with just being able to purchase them for a few bucks a pound, which is absolutely ridiculous when you really consider the true amount of effort that should be placed into creating that chicken on your plate. It really just boggles your mind when you're able to be put in the wild with just the elements. You have to make it out on your own with your bare hands, and you really learn, holy cow, this stuff is pretty severe. There was also a deer that was hit very close to this property. Me and my friend were actually able to acquire it after getting hit by a car, and we also processed that deer so we could have meat for the winter. And that whole process was also extremely eye-opening, and something of course that the average city slicker. Now obviously it's important to note here that these are skills that a lot of people in New Hampshire naturally have from living here and obviously spending a lot of time here and now officially being a part of the Free State Project. I always knew New Hampshire was the quote live free or die state, but learning some of the kind of intricate details about how people live here has been absolutely amazing. For example, New Hampshire, by the way, has some of the highest medium income and lowest poverty rates in the United States, all while having some of the lowest tax rates in all of the United States. Now, of course, there is property tax here. That's one thing that people have to deal with. But other than that, when it comes to regulations, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to government, it is absolutely tiny, especially when you compare it to, of course, New York City, which is the opposite of what's going on here, with a less intrusive, more laissez-faire government. It also has the most Bitcoin transactions per capita, with a very small government with very little taxes. Now, yes, of course, there is property tax, but there's also provisions where you could spend your tax dollars on helping out homeschooling efforts, and it has one of the largest homeschooling networks in all of the United States, here specifically in New Hampshire. It's one of the least hit states when it comes to the conholio sickness. It has the least amount of cases. The lockdowns are not really existent here, to say the least. And of course, most importantly, it is a state that is very friendly towards the Second Amendment, the right to defend yourself, the right to, of course, arm yourself with a firearm, something that's extremely critically important that, of course, many people don't have that right in the United States. But here in New Hampshire, you can open carry, you could purchase a firearm, you could even purchase a flamethrower at the gun store, which we did, and we held trainings for just a few days ago right here on this property, where we dealt with some very serious scarecrows that have been left to an utter burning, piling mess. We also were able to extensively shoot and practice our defense with 50 calibers, which was really fun. And when it comes to the Second Amendment, obviously this is a hot topic issue for a lot of different individuals, but consider this. New Hampshire, one of the most gun-friendly places in the United States, has one of the lowest murder rates in the entire country. The least amount of shootings happen here, and routinely you see a large number of individuals open carrying, including myself. Because if you have a right, you have to use it, and you can't just depend on other people to exercise their freedoms, which I've been gladly doing here in the great state of New Hampshire. In New York City, you have a little pocket knife, jail. Pepper spray, jail. Yes. It's just absolutely ridiculous where I've known of cases of individuals getting preemptively attacked, assaulted with weapons, them deciding to fight back with their bare hands, and because they did, they also were prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and sent to jail for defending themselves against an attack. You don't have a lot of that nonsense here in New Hampshire. You have a lot of laws that protect you, your property, and you as an individual, which sadly you don't have in places like in New York City, where violent crime, shootings are dramatically going up. All, of course, while having the strictest anti-Second Amendment legislation, laws, and rules and regulations that, of course, restrict an individual from carrying out any form of self-defense, which is absolutely freaking ridiculous. So that's reason one out of a million gajillion other reasons why I am very happy I moved here to New Hampshire, became a part of the Free State Project, became a part of a community, became a part of a group of individuals who value sovereignty, freedom, and most importantly, personal responsibility, which is absolutely key and crucial in 2020. So yeah, that's my particular take on it. If you are in New Hampshire, definitely sign up on our email list so you can be notified of our trainings and of our events that are taking place here. You know, you always have to be the change that you want to see in this world. We always see the hippies that always say that, but it's true. And I'm doing my best to do that this year. And I hope to spread that message, and I hope to teach people how to defend themselves and how to prepare for anything. I mean, some of the trainings we did, if you went to all the trainings, you could be in the middle of the woods right now. You'll be fine. You just run away from society, sit down in the middle of the woods, and prosper pretty effectively. Just you by yourself, right in the middle of the wilderness at any time and moment. And I think that's a specific, special power that I hope to share with as many individuals as I can. And if you're interested in that, if you're interested in maybe even coming to our future Bash It events or our future self-defense training courses, sign up on the email list. The link to that will be down in the description below. But so far, beautiful, amazing time spent here in New Hampshire. I can't recommend it enough. If you're looking to move or to consider a place outside of the big city, definitely check out New Hampshire. Without you guys, I want to be here, and this is why. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.